Hey guys, how's it going? So I hope you're having a good day today, and I hope all is going well with you. So for today's video, this is going to be a speculation video. Now, this is speculation. I have no idea if this is going to happen, if it's not going to happen. I could totally be wrong about this. So this is just me pulling stuff out of the air and sort of looking on my own intuition and my own guesses. Now, I've been following radio for probably 25 years now. Now, I don't claim to be an expert, but I've watched enough stuff over the years to kind of get a gauge of kind of what might happen, what station might be changing formats, kind of the lay of like a lot of radio markets and stuff like that. So I was looking at some radio ratings, the Nielsen ratings on radioinsight.com, and there's a few radio markets that I have not looked at in a while. And I was just kind of breezing through some of them. Now, mainly the radio markets that I more concentrate on are like Detroit, Cleveland, Columbus, Dayton, Toledo, Ohio, Fort Wayne, markets like that are in my region. But I do look at big markets around the country. And I was kind of noticing a trend with a few iHeart radio stations, iHeart Media, formerly Clear Channel. And I've noticed that there are a few stations in a few major markets that are really lagging. And I'm starting to wonder if iHeart, maybe in the coming months, might be making some moves there. So we'll start off with one station. KEGL Dallas-Fort Worth, 97.1 The Eagle. Now, the 97.1 signal, they've been the Eagle 3 different times. And they've had the KEGL call letters since the early 1980s. So throughout the 80s and 90s, they were the Eagle. They started off as kind of a top 40 station and eventually evolved into active rock. Then in 2004, the Eagle flew away and it became Sunny 97.1 with a soft AC format that did not do well. Then they became La Preciosa with the Spanish oldies format, which did better than Sunny did. And out the gate, La Preciosa was actually, they had a good beginning, but then the ratings started to taper off, which, my own opinion, as I stated in my Radio Stories video about the time the Eagle flew away twice, actually, yeah, twice, I kind of mentioned how La Preciosa got a good start, but then ratings kind of fell off. But in my opinion, maybe Clear Channel at the time didn't quite know how to market the format, as Spanish language isn't something that they do a lot on a big scale. Then the Eagle came back in late 2007. And then it went away again some years later and became the Freak with sports talk and kind of hot talk, kind of a fusion of sports talk and kind of guide talk. That didn't do well. So the Eagle came back once again. Well, this time around, the Eagle doesn't seem to have the zeal it once did. The ratings for this incarnation of the Eagle have not been very good. They've been consistently in the low to mid ones to about a 1.5. And I realize Dallas-Fort Worth is a very big radio market, but still, you get down in the ones. That's not very good. So I'm kind of wondering if they might make a major move here, maybe in the coming months. I mean, could they keep the Eagle name and shift the station to, maybe shift the station to like a classic hits oldies format? Could they do something big and try Spanish again? Could they flip back to a softer AC format, being a bit of a flanker for like 102.1? I think there's a lot of things here that they could do, and I'm not really sure what might happen there, but I wouldn't be surprised if they pivoted the station to something different, because clearly what they're doing isn't really working. And the Eagle, as the current format stands, I think many people have just tuned out. I think the radio landscape has changed. And I think a lot of rock radio listeners have gone to Sirius XM and other like streaming platforms. But we'll have to see about that one. The next one is Roomba 106.1 in Philadelphia, WUMR. Now, there's been 2 incarnations of Roomba in Philadelphia. The first one was on 104.5, which was around 2006, 2007. The format lasted 9 months before moving to the AM and just being discontinued altogether. Roomba then, I'm trying to remember, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, came back to 106.1. Well, looking at the ratings again are not very good for Roomba. They're like at a, mid ones, low to mid ones, and that's not good. One of the big reasons I mentioned this station is because in Tampa, St. Petersburg, iHeart blew their Roomba up there. They switched 95.7 to sports, and they moved Roomba to a translator. So I'm wondering if in Philly, possibly they might be thinking the same thing. I mean, possibly they could flip back to a maybe more of an urban-based format like real 106.1 was. Maybe they could flip back to an AC format or to like a hot AC format. That one could be interesting to see what happens, but I do think that they may eventually flip this station. And then the next one I would put on the list would be 95.5 in Chicago, WCHI, which has an active rock format similar to what the Eagle is in Dallas-Fort Worth. Again, same story. The ratings are mediocre at best. I mean, they're low to mid ones. And they actually are doing worse than country did on that signal. After Smooth Jazz went away, Smooth Jazz WNUA, the format flipped to Spanish language. I believe it was Spanish AC at first, and then it went to regional Mexican as El Patron. And again, neither format really lived up to expectations, especially in Chicago, where you have a bit of a crowded market with Spanish language stations. So that didn't do as well. So they flipped the station to country, which actually that made sense. But big 95.5 really didn't do as well, and it really didn't make any kind of a dent in the ratings to the competition. So they flipped the station to rock, and that's actually done worse. And in my personal opinion, WCHI sounds kind of stale in my opinion. I've listened to it a couple of times online, and I go, there's really not much to offer me here, in my opinion. I mean, if I'm going to listen to like rock radio in Chicago, I'm going to listen to Q101 or I'm going to listen to The Drive. But rock sounds just really stale, in my opinion. So, that one, I'm not sure where that one's going, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a flip there. Now, the next one is going to be a bit lower on the list, and this one is probably less likely. But I'm just going to throw it out there, just just for grits and schmiggles. 106.7 in Detroit, 106.7 Detroit's Wheels. The 106.7 signal has had a storied history, especially in the last 20-some years. They've after W4 Country, they went to Alice, then they went to the Drive, then they went to the Fox, then to the Beat of Detroit, then to the D, then to the D 2.0, Variety Hits. Then they went to Alternative, and then to Wheels. Now, they've been classic rock 3 different times. Classic rock is the Drive, the D, and as Wheels. And each time, the ratings have been so-so. The Drive's ratings weren't very good, so it made sense to blow that one up. The D's ratings were okay. They were around for a handful of years, and I'd say the ratings were okay. The D 2.0 as Variety Hits, I really think they should have given that station a chance. I felt that they didn't give that station enough of a chance because they pulled the plug after 6 months and flipped to Alt 106.7, which did terrible in the ratings. I mean, they were in the low to mid once. I mean, that was a stupid move in my opinion. And I have kind of sour grapes about that because 106.7 the D as Variety Hits. I mean, I love that station. That was like the best variety hit station I ever heard. And for corporate radio, I mean, that was just awesome. Now, Wheels typically dwells in the low 2s typically. And they're not the lowest rated FM station, but they're really not making that big of a dent in the competition between WCSX and WRAF being on top and Alt 98.7 doing fairly well, although we'll see what happens here in the coming months because they could hemorrhage listeners to 89X in Windsor, although 88.7 isn't focused on the Detroit market. So that really doesn't count per se, but we'll see what happens there. But I think Wheels needs a bit of a shakeup because, again, the station just sounds stale to me. And there are some detractors that call the station fake Wheels, which it's definitely not the Wheels that was on 98.7 back in the 80s and the 90s. And I realize times have changed quite a bit, but this version of Wheels is just kind of bland sounding in my opinion. Now they could make a move there. As I say, this is probably less likely. For example, could they take the station Variety Hits again? They could take the station Variety Hits and keep the name Wheels. I think that would be good. That would position the station a little better. That would wedge the station between WCSX and WOMC. So I think that could be a viable choice to try Variety Hits again. Again, they could retain the Wheels name or they could use a different name. How about 106.7 The Cat? I think that one would be good. Or I've got another idea here, and this probably would not happen, but I will just throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. Likely it won't, but I'll say it anyway. What about trying Regional Mexican on 106.7? The Detroit market already has one on 1310 and on the translator 107.9, which has kind of a small niche audience. But Spanish, especially in like Southeast Michigan, there's been quite a growth of the Spanish-speaking population in recent years. So I guess the question would be, could the market support a full-powered FM station that has a Spanish language format? I'm not completely sure, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. Now, you have, as I say, you have 1310 and the translator 107.9 with a regional Mexican format. And you also have 1480 WSDS out of Ypsilanti. And it simulcasts on 1090 WCAR in Detroit, which 1090 has about the power of a plug-in nightlight. I think they're 250 watt days, and they're actually 500 watts nights, which that's kind of different. But again, they're very, very tiny players in the market. So I would say regional Mexican is definitely a tall order, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. But likely if they were to shift, I believe it would be variety hits or maybe a lesser of a chance oldies. So we'll see what happens. So what do you guys think? Do you think that any of these stations could flip in the near future? Do you think I'm on the right track here? Do you think I'm off? And again, this is just pure speculation. I don't know. Well, guys, that's going to do it for me. I want to thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And as always, guys, have a great rest of your day.